Understanding key auto-scaling concepts. Auto-scaling is a big concept, as in I don't think AWS would be anywhere near the size they are without the concept of auto-scaling. So to start our discussion, I actually brought in a couple slides from my design series on AWS and best practices. Number 3 was elasticity, where elasticity describes the ability to grow or shrink your architecture on demand. My friend, that describes auto-scaling. Meaning, maybe you start off with 2 servers running all the time for redundancy, but under a high tide situation where a lot of demand is coming in, you can actually grow your architecture on the fly, and once the demand goes down, you start terminating instances to save money. The instances or servers are actually drones. Come on, Star Wars had to make its way in here somehow. Reporting for duty, they are tasked during provision. They are actually built on the fly. Think of this assembly line, drones being built through bootstrapping, which is essentially scripting the startup of these machines. So they start from an AMI image, essentially a frozen hard drive, and as they boot, they configure themselves and report for duty. Furthermore, we have no faith in any one system. As Werner Vogels, the CTO of Amazon, would say, we don't fall in love with our servers. He did a brilliant speech a couple years ago where he said, I used to love my servers, but you know what? Servers hate you. And he went into this thing how they wake you up all hours of the day and night. They break all the time. They cry. And anyway, it was pretty awesome, but it's true. I mean, we put our faith. We're like, oh, SD Core DC03, man, that can't go down. That's a main domain controller. No, not in the AWS design world. You monitor that thing. If DC03 misbehaves, you terminate it. Destroy it, which totally takes the ideas behind common modern computing and turns them on end. And that's the whole principle of cloud computing, is this idea that there's no server is a critical point of failure in your design. We also have to hit this design principle as well, which ties right into auto-scaling. Things work better in parallel. If you're a farmer, what's better? To plow your whole field in 5 hours with 1 plow, or to have 5 plows that you could do the same thing in 1 hour? Well, if you're talking to a farmer, you probably go, well, I'll do my... Is that what farmers sound like? I don't know. But if this one does, he said, well, I don't want to take care of all those horses and plows and equipment. I just would use my 1 plow for 5 hours. And I would say, well, yeah, but what if I changed your paradigm and I told you that I have a stash of horses and plows, and I'll let you borrow mine for $1. Tell you what. Use it for an hour and you get where I'm going with this, right? That's what AWS has done, is they've eliminated the resource limitations of typical IT because you don't have to go buy the upfront cost of all those servers. So you can do what the, who was that? The New York Times did. Tribune. The Tribune did. They actually had a billion, it's some huge amount of old TIFF images of their newspaper that they wanted to convert to PDF and make it searchable. And they actually indexed, I mean, it's some absurd millions, billions of articles, et cetera, by using hundreds of AWS instances, and it ended up costing them like $47, and they finished the entire library in like 2 hours. I mean, it was something crazy because they harnessed parallel processing, scaling those groups up into the hundreds of machines and then tearing them all down when you're done. Well, as Nacho Libre would say, let's get into the nitty-gritty. AWS command line tools is how you manage auto-scaling. As of today, and I'm not saying it's not going to change, and I will actually probably say it will. There's no graphical interface to manage auto-scaling. You have to do it from the command line because it's very reliant on scripting and parameters and all the things that you set up. I'll explain that in just a second. So in order to do AWS auto-scaling, you have to get the command line tools installed. They have it for Windows. They have it for Linux. You have to have Java installed. You have to have some variables configured. Matter of fact, I actually recorded a micro nugget. You can go to YouTube and find it. Just go to YouTube and search for installing AWS command line tools, and you'll find this. It's a little 9-minute walkthrough that shows you how to do this on Windows and on Linux. It can be an instance running in the cloud in AWS that has these. It could be your computer at the office. It could be at home. Essentially, what you have to have is an AWS credential file, so you have some kind of user account that you've granted permission to do the auto-scaling. So you've granted permission to certain areas of EC2 and so on in AWS in order for this to function. After the command line tools are installed, you're ready to go. Time to configure auto-scaling. Now, I've got them in pretty blue boxes, but you remember that all the auto-scaling elements, and these are the 3 core ones, are configured through command line interfaces. So these are arguments that you're typing in. First thing you'll create is a launch configuration. Think of this as the what of auto-scaling, as in what AMI do you want to use? Remember, AMI being the hard drive, the data of the server. And what instance type do you want to launch? A small, medium, large, extra large, double extra large. Every time I think of Amazon instance sizes, I think of In-N-Out Burger, where they have the double with double meat, double cheese. Or you could, a lot of people don't know this, you could actually do a quad burger at In-N-Out Burger. Quad burger. Now I'm so hungry. So, auto-scaling group. This is the where. There are other elements of auto-scaling groups, but really the main thing that it's after is the where, as in what availability zone or zones do you want to launch these launch configurations in? Do you want them in East 1A, East 1B, and East 1C, or just, how many in each one, and so on? From there, you implement the policy, and I'll call this one the how. How do you want to implement those? Auto-scaling policies essentially define, hey, I want to launch 2 servers. I want to launch 4 servers spread across 3 regions. I want to launch. So you essentially are saying, I want to, take the what and the where and combine it together, and this is my action to take. But, and so for instance, let me just give you an example. An auto-scaling policy might say add 2 servers, and we call this the add 2 policy. Right? There might be another auto-scaling policy that says terminate 4 servers, and we call it the term 4, or whatever the case is. And there's more to it than just a number that you associate it with, but that, again, is the core of it. All of this will sit there until you assign it an action. Essentially, you have to think, what's going to trigger auto-scaling in my organization? Is it, for example, time of day? Meaning, once I've got 8 a.m. coming, I know my customer load increases, so I'm going to automatically launch the auto-scaling policy of +2, which adds 2 servers to 3 regions and, all that kind of stuff. Or maybe at 6 p.m. it goes down. Or maybe, and I'll say by far the most common one, this is not a piece of popcorn. It is a cloud with eyes because it represents CloudWatch. And CloudWatch is watching all of your servers, and you can say, hey, you know what, if I ever have a misbehaving server, it's staying, maybe you ever see a server go 100% CPU? I have. When something locks up, a process dies or something like that, a lot of admin time is wasted. I mean, think of this in the traditional IT world. Alarms going off, you're like, I got to remote in. I can't remote in because the server's too busy to even do remote desktop or SSH session. So you're going through the direct card or an out-of-band management, and you're trying to get in there. I can't do it. Oh, no, it's going to be down. We're going to lose. No. No, no, no. In the AWS world, when we see a server pegged at 100%, we don't even waste time on it. We terminate. I'm going red. Terminate it. It's gone, and use an auto-scaling policy to spin up a replacement. So you could have a CloudWatch policy that says, you know what, if my server farm reaches, let's just say 80% CPU for a 5-minute interval, then that tells me maybe it's not locked up, it's busy. So I need to add, I'll launch the auto-scaling policy +2 or +9 and add more servers until I see that CPU drop to 20% average. Then I know that I'm meeting my customer demands and it's not getting bogged down. Now, again, one example, couple examples of hundreds that you could do. Essentially, you have to say, why would I want to either add or take away servers, and that will trigger what auto-scaling policies you launch. You now understand key auto-scaling concepts and the best way to plow a field. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.